Welcome back to my channel. This is part 3 of a 3-part series where we are talking to Sue, who grew up in Portland, Oregon during the Great Depression. In the first episode, I will link that below, we learned all about social settings, Irvington Club, and we learned about the doctor that timed the green beans to be boiled for 10 minutes. That was priceless and interesting information. In the second part, we learned about if they missed anything and what it was if they did. We also learned about hospitals and what they were like and knowing your neighbors and community. That seems to be the biggest theme through all of this, is there was a community. I think that struck me the most. We learned about milking and we learned about food availability and how they keep their spirits up, government guidance, and fondest memories. In this episode now, we are going on a little bit of a different path. So the previous first 2 episodes were questions that had been sent to me, asking what it was like. And they were mostly from women that had children that wanted to, well, I'll explain it in the video. So let's just get rolling. This is our journey. Welcome to the Betancourt's homestead. So these next 5 questions were questions that my husband and I thought were good, because a lot of the questions that were asked, I had explained earlier, a lot of these questions that were asked were from young families, moms with young children. And they, their hearts are very concerned that if we ever did go through hard times, they didn't know like how many pairs of clothing or shoes should you have for children, how much is too much, how much is not enough. And I know kids today always have to have the updated cell phones and the updated video games, and you didn't have any of that. So as we go into, if we ever did go into a depression, these were questions that we thought would be good for the moms to hear the answers to. Because what I'm hearing from you so far is that you just had a good time with what you had, right?
Exactly.
So did you have any warning that it was occurring or was about to occur? And if so, what were the signs? And you didn't?
Had no warning. I was just a babe.
Okay.
And nobody much seemed to care, you know. Apparently a lot of people lost money because the banks closed and their money was gone. But if you didn't have much money to start with, you know, it wasn't going to affect.
You didn't lose much.
No.
Yeah. And those people that lost money, did you see as a child if they were really distraught or having a hard time, or did the community pick up and help them?
I never heard much about it because nobody that we knew was rich, you know, what we would have termed rich. We were all in the same boat. Yeah. We all had just exactly the same amount, enough to feed the family and
not enough for any frills.
No.
But
we didn't miss them because we didn't have all those things. They hadn't been invented yet.
Yeah, I think that's the key. What did people wish they would have had, and you had said nothing because they hadn't been invented yet?
We didn't know about television and cell phones and video games and all this type of thing. It never even entered our mind that we were being sadly shorted.
I'm thinking you kind of won the lottery, right? Because I'm not seeing
I grew up at a good time.
You did?
Yeah.
You really did. I'm looking back now, I'm hearing you, and you really did. I'd like to see the families of today figure out how to recreate that as much as possible. Wouldn't that be cool?
It would be so hard, though, because you might take away all of the frills from your family, but the people next door who you really don't know very well, because, you know, they're not you.
And you don't associate with them for some reason. We don't talk to our neighbors.
Well, yeah, you're just kind of leery. You don't know what they are, and it's so different from when everybody knew and liked everybody and tried to get along. And
It's a true community. We weren't as divided then as we are now. Is that what I'm hearing?
exactly.
What do you see today happening that was similar to back then, and any warning signs for us today?
No, the times are so different, and there's so many more rules, regulation, laws, and limits that, it's just hard to know what you're doing or where you're going or what you're going to be allowed to do tomorrow. So it's so different. It was so much simpler in those days.
So do I hear you saying that if something like that was to happen now, that it is going to be harder?
Oh, it would be, because people today are used to so many different things, and to be deprived of what you have is just not going with the makeup of today's population. You're used to these things and you would miss them so terribly. And
so we're living everyday life for an American is a luxury that the 1930s didn't know.
During the Depression, these things didn't exist. You didn't know about them, so you didn't miss them. And they would have been luxuries, couldn't have afforded them anyway. You'd been jealous, I imagine, of the people that could afford them. It didn't enter the picture.
Interesting. What would you have done differently if you could have? And we talked about that. You didn't know of anything.
I was kind of sneaky. No, I guess that was more when bananas were hard to come by. And just certain people were able to buy bananas. You had to have an in with the grocer. And I was a kid, and I loved to bake banana bread for my grandpa. And I was talking to our grocer one time, and I said, I sure hope bananas come back on the market, because I love to bake banana bread. And he said, how many loaves do you make at a time? And all of a sudden, I had all the bananas I wanted. And I'd bake bread and give some to Grandpa and some to the grocer. And we just kept getting bananas whenever we wanted them.
Oh, that's awesome.
Sneaky.
That is sneaky. That's awesome. So, talking about food, what were dinners like? I don't think we talked about breakfasts, but what were dinners like?
We had combination of everything. My mother, of course, stayed home and did the cooking, and we ate everything. We did not eat fast food because there were no fast food markets. And hot dogs were for summertime roasting, so we didn't have that, but would have meatloaf and hamburger patties and a little bit of steak and stews and soups and, just general. Always tried to have a vegetable and fruit and some. We didn't call them carbs in those days. We called it bread. You had to have your bread with the meal. And so.
Okay. And the last question here. What advice would you give to a young family of today to be prepared if it was to occur again?
Just do the best you can. Just be a family, love your family, know your neighbors, and always appreciate what you do have, and don't go out of your way to acquire more. Just enjoy what you have.
Kind of like a simple life. And not feel bad about it. Because you didn't miss the busy life.
Exactly.
And if I'm hearing correctly, you like the simple life.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
As opposed to all of us that run around with phones and technology.
I get so confused. I'm electronically challenged in this day and age. I know how to turn on the radio. I know how to push the switch for the TV, and that's about it.
And you know how to turn the scanner on.
Oh, yes.
Would you like to turn the scanner on now?
No.
Sue.
No, it's more fun to talk.
Oh, I love talking with you. And
Thank
thank
you.
you so much for the
Well,
information that you've given us.
You're just more than welcome. I'm afraid it's not all that helpful. I was pretty young during the Depression, but maybe all kids would have the same impression of their childhood.
I would hope that they all would. You shared something when we first came in, and it is your grandma's shopping list.
No, my mother's.
Your mother's.
This is in the
Oh.
1930s.
Your mother's shopping list
When
for
she entertained some women at an afternoon party.
was that the Irvington?
No, just a group of friends. And she wanted to serve them a nice dessert or luncheon. And she made out her shopping list, which got lost somehow. And when I found it, I was just tickled pink to see what the prices of the various items were.
Well, it is very interesting because 1 dozen eggs was 20 cents. 1 loaf of bread was 6 cents. 8 slices of meat were 15 cents. And half a pint of cream was 14 cents. 10, is that 10 pounds? Looks like, 10 cents of sweet pickles? Did you buy pickles?
10 cents worth of sweet pickles, yes. They had them in vats, and you would buy what you wanted at some stores.
Interesting, because they come in, I just bought a jar of pickles, like, before I came over here.
Well, and things used to come so you could get into them. You'd open a bottle or can, and there'd be the produce or whatever. I had a couple of cans here of stuff that I couldn't get into because they were so child-proofed, and times have changed.
Yeah.
See, we didn't worry about things like that.
Right.
Nobody was out to get us.
Now, the child-proof lids, I was born when they were invented, and I remember the druggist coming out of the drugstore looking for a child to open the lid. My mother always tells that story. So I find that very interesting. It's like we're trying to protect the children, but the children are the only ones that can open things.
That's about it.
Yeah.
I had to get a pair of pliers to pull that fancy metal cover off that covered the whatever it was.
Yes, those wrappers. So 1 small cake, 25 cents.
Yeah.
So she priced out her list before she went and then totaled it for $1.15 for a party, for a gathering for her friends.
Sandwiches and cake.
Yeah, sandwiches, sliced meat, cake, simple. Today, standard, we would include so much more and so many different kinds of appetizers, and we would fill a table. But this just seems like it was absolutely simple.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They were there for, other than eating, they were there to socialize or play a game of cards or whatever. They weren't there to see if my mother had as good a selection of things to serve as somebody else might.
They weren't trying to show each other up. They just wanted to be
Exactly.
together.
Exactly.
I like that way of living. I like that. Do you have any...
But of course the grocery clerks weren't making very much money either when they were...
No. Do you have anything to add? Because I have so thoroughly enjoyed this time with you.
I can't think of anything. It was fun being a kid growing up. We were all in the same boat, and nobody had anything more than any of the rest of us, and we depended on ourselves, and we played tag and hide and seek and all this silly kind of stuff.
And you laughed.
And the whole neighborhood, all the kids played together from kindergarten through high school. They didn't care if somebody was a little bit older or somebody was too young to run fast. We did. It's just fun.
Just had fun. Thank you very much. I look forward to World War II. Start remembering fun stories for that, because I'll be back for that. Thank you.
Okay.
Here in the my mother's been sitting here in the corner knitting.
So the summarizing, I can't say that, all of this means that we just need to get up off this table and go shake hands with the guy next door. Make it a point, a priority to meet and talk to
us.
Well, I'll tell him that we need to go out and meet our neighbors.
Exactly.
Because we'll depend on each other if something happens.
Exactly.
Well,
which is what happened with you.
This is a very interesting conversation to have because you are the pinnacle of building a community. Here, let's see, right there. This is my mother. I won the lottery on mothers because I learned community from you because I watched you as a child. You were in the kitchen cooking or washing dishes and you were tagging that phone line, keeping in contact with your relatives or Aunt Jean up the street, which wasn't an aunt, we just adopted her. And you are the one that had all of the functions and the things that were going on. What made you feel as if you needed to build and keep that community going?
Well, I actually didn't grow up with that kind of community. I was raised by my grandparents, and we were kind of, at that time, it was out in the country. And so I kind of always wanted that. And you grew up pretty much exactly the way she did.
Mm-hmm.
Because we had a street, 35 houses on it in Fremont, California, and you could open your front door and 30 kids would run through the house and you wondered if you knew any of those. And they hid the little boy down the street in their toy box because he got in trouble. They were all there together.
In my defense, I hid Timothy in my toy box because he broke a window with a baseball 2 houses up. I had absolutely no idea or no thought that he was going to have to go potty at some point in time. But when the police came knocking, wondering if we'd seen him, I knew I was in trouble.
Out the back window. Goodness.
So
you grew up very similar to Sue. Sue, to tell you, is my teacher. She's teaching me tatting, which is something, tatting and fly fishing I've always wanted to learn. But nobody in my family really, really likes fish that much.
Fly fishing?
Yeah, I've always wanted. It's kind of fun.
Do we have any friends that know fly fishing that can help teach my mother? Let me know. Comments below. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so I would like to interview you later about your ideas for community because we have women, we have these young families out here. Maybe we could get both of you together and throw ideas out because I'm literally on the phone with young women here in this county that are trying to find ways of bringing each other together. So if you guys can start thinking about that, I would appreciate it.
Just go knock on the door and say hello. Go walk up to somebody at the grocery store and say, hi, I like your dress. Well, nobody I know wears dresses, but I like your dress.
Okay, we're going to be going. Thanks for watching. Like, comment, and subscribe. Smash that notification bell if you want to be notified when the World War II video comes. I am so looking forward to that one.
So am I.
Yes, because that is a topic that I love. Thank you very much, Sue. Thank you for watching this 3-part series. It was actually a pleasure to do this, and it's amazing talking to Sue. And if you did hear and catch on, I have been invited back to do an interview with her on World War II. She actually was raising her kids, having her children during World War II, and she has quite a bit of information. So if you have any questions that you would like her to answer on what life was like during World War II, put them down in the comments and I will write them down and ask them. Do share your name with me and what state you are from. Other than that, thank you for watching. It has been such a pleasure doing these videos. Like, subscribe, and smash that notification bell. I do plan on making sure that we get the World War II videos. And then I actually think I'm going to go in, because the common theme was community, I actually think I'm going to take my mother, who is this amazing, perfect person to talk about community. She knows how to do it's like the most natural art form for her to build and create community and find ways. I think I'd like to bring them both together and brainstorm about how we can build community today, in today's day and age. What would it look like today? How did they build it back then? and how could they recommend us doing it now? Because I think we do need community. That has been on my heart for years, and the last several years for sure. And I don't think it comes naturally to us anymore. So World War II and then community. I think that's a good fit. You guys have a great day, and thank you so very much for watching.